So, Katie, tell me
Yes.
about a struggle that you've had. Like, did you have salad days, or was there some time you've had to really endure, or are you living in an endurement moment
I
right
mean, I
now?
think I'm living in an adornment moment now,
Okay.
absolutely. I was very comfortably situated at the CW for many years. And the company was purchased by Nexstar, best known as a local station group. And the business model changed. And they came in very brash and sort of with an opinion of they knew how they were going to turn this company around and how to make this company run. And I had an 18-minute meeting with the new president of the company, or as I like to say, 1 minute for every year of service that I had given. But and so got laid off and was happy to be laid off. I am not a fan of the programming that they're doing on the network. I'm not a fan of the politics they seem to be engendering. One of the things about me, a lot of people are like, "Well, would you work in a different category than entertainment?" And I was like, "Well, here's the thing. I am an entertainment person who happened to end up doing marketing, not a marketing person who happens to work in entertainment."
Yeah, you've told me that before. I
Yeah.
like that way of looking at it.
Yeah, and so, I guess I could work on a life insurance account, but it's not the same thing to me, right? Like,
Yeah.
in my spare time, I'm an anti-advertising gorilla. No, not really. But, like, I read Naomi Klein's No Logo. I understand the problems that we're having with advertising appearing everywhere and what it's doing to our brains and to our children's brains. I saw that there's a Columbia logo on the side of the moon lander that just landed the other day.
Oh, I
I
didn't
saw a
know that.
picture of it and it said Columbia on the side of it, and I was like, "Okay, the moon, we're done."
Well, I mean, you've seen Ready Player
Of
One or
course.
read the book, and Nolan Sorrento's character is like, "This is how many ads we can get away with before people start breaking in convulsions," or something to that
Yeah,
extent.
yeah, it feels like that a lot of the time, but, I mean, that's certainly the experience on Instagram anymore.
Well, I mean, ads, when you talk about ads, you think about the Super Bowl, people watch Super Bowl for the ads. So it has its own place in pop culture, but I know what you
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
what you're talking about
yeah,
as far
yeah,
as
yeah,
marketing as a
yeah.
whole.
So anyway, so got laid off from CW and was like, "Great, I'll take a little break. I How great, I'll do some traveling and then, get back to work. I am a capable and in-demand person." And so took a little break, did a little traveling, went to Copenhagen, really highly suggest
I've
Copenhagen,
heard
really
nothing
great
but
city,
great things,
really
yeah.
great city. And came back and was like, "All right, here we go. Like, let's get to work." And then the strikes happened. The
Yeah,
writing strike happened, the actor strike happened, and so basically, the entertainment business folded itself up
yeah,
pretty much. And so, just before then, in addition to CW, there were layoffs at ABC. There were layoffs. There were layoffs everywhere. Like right, like hundreds of thousands of jobs have been lost in the last year and a half between entertainment and tech.
yeah,
Right. And so, what I had been hearing from people was like, but what's great is that all the realignments happened before the strikes. So once the strikes are over, jobs will start coming again.
yeah.
Right? Like they know the structure they want. They've got the job descriptions on their desk, but there's a hiring freeze until the strike's over.
Okay.
And
Strikes are
so
over.
strikes are over. And I understood, as they ended, like I wasn't going to get a job on December 23rd.
Right.
And so now here we are at the end of February, and there's certainly jobs happening, but not at the rate I thought they would be happening at this point.
Right.
And it has been a struggle at this point. I talked to a recruiter for a streaming platform,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, I saw this job listing. I can do that. Like, that is what I do." And he's like, "Yeah, well, the CMO only wants people with streaming experience." And so I explained, "Well, the CW was,
It was a streamer, just
yeah,
nobody really knew how.
Yeah.
CW Now worked.
So I'll stop you right there. CW
Okay.
Now was sort of a name for something that then that like it was the CW app, right?
Yeah.
Like we had a bit of a I can say we're talking about the past. We had a bit of a problem with how we were able to brand the streaming platform because of the existing deals with affiliates.
Okay.
So, as much as we might have wanted to go out and scream from the rooftop that you can stream and you can stream for free and here are all the details, a lot of our relationship with our affiliate body precluded us from doing that because the affiliates on the local level felt like that was taking money out of their pockets.
Yeah, CW is in a way different position than Peacock or CBS or ABC.
Yeah, so a very different position. And when you look at the shows that we ended up have in our later days, our most successful shows were not shows that had any kind of like Nielsen overnight ratings. They were shows that doubled and tripled their viewing when streaming was factored in.
Yeah.
So shows like Riverdale, shows like All American, shows like The Flash, huge streaming hits.
Yeah, I remember when it was early on, we were doing the Gossip Girl
Yeah.
marketing,
Yes.
and we had sent something to Rick Haskins about Gossip Girl being number 1, and that even though the ratings were,
Yeah.
streaming wise, or people were downloading it, right? And they
Yeah.
were wanting to watch it and consume it that way.
Yes.
But it was before it really was part of the zeitgeist of how things were even measured.
Absolutely. And we had a really odd experience with Gossip Girl in particular because at the time CW was owned by CBS and Warner Brothers, and they very traditional media companies. And it was around or about where sort of the Nielsen shifted to, like, 3 days of viewing, that, like, 3 commercials in the first 3 days of viewing would be paid
Yeah.
for, counted. So, one of our parent companies decided that how we could best capture that money would be to not stream Gossip Girl until 3 days after it aired, and
Okay.
then we could put it on the streaming because then everyone will have watched on their DVRs. That did not work because the people who wanted to watch Gossip Girl in the moment were young people who knew how to use a computer,
Yeah.
and so Gossip Girl became, like, the most pirated show of the year. There were people on our media team, I remember, who were huge fans who did not have TV sets. I'm like, "Well, how are you watching it now?" And she's like, "Oh, I go to this website and that website." Like, right, like, the the youth always knows how to get it. Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't
I
force them
remember. Yeah.
into behaving like you behaved.
Yeah. Yeah. I always talk about it about George Carlin. He always mentions, "If you don't like what's going on now, just wait for him to die." Then it'll cycle through.
But I just have to, like, give a little sign of the cross for George Carlin.
So, given your experience, your time at the
Yes.
CW, how do you manage going through this right now?
I think, for me, what I have been trying to do is to remember on a daily basis that I am really good at what I do,
Yeah,
right? Like, and
I think
sometimes
so.
I wake up and I'm like, "Oh, what have I ever even done with my life?" But, we're sitting here talking about Gossip Girl almost 20 years later. So, obviously that's a thing that I did successfully, or Vampire Diaries, or Arrow, or Riverdale, right? Like, I was able to draw audiences to TV shows that they could watch. And, I do believe that there is a position for me. However, negotiating the sort of here's another great example of where AI is failing.
Okay.
Like, right? Like, so I have a resume that I spent $350 having someone, like, jam in as many keywords as possible to try and get the AI that's reviewing resumes for every company to put me in the pile.
Yeah. No, no. Yeah.
Right? So it's trying to game that system, trying to understand, Do I know someone at a company that I can call to find out if this job is real or not? Because there's been plenty of jobs that I see listed that I'm like, "Oh my god, this is great." And I call someone who works there and they're like, "Yeah, no, actually that job doesn't really exist, or we gave that to someone internally and we just had to post it because that's how it works."
What does that mean it doesn't exist?
Sometimes companies will post jobs just to get resumes in to
For
have
what?
for just to have them on hand.
Okay.
It's weird.
Are they fishing?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, it's
okay,
it's fishing a little bit. It's just trying to understand maybe if they were to post a job like this, what kind of response they could get. Like, it's just it's all
interesting.
everyone is trying to game an algorithm somewhere.
Yeah, no, yeah. Even how we create these shows and we push them out, we're very much doing I get it.
Yeah.
It's the hustle. So, I mean, you gotta have good days and bad days.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know what I'm doing? I'm learning Spanish on Duolingo.
You got
That's
the
a great
bird
use of
holding the
AI.
gun to your head.
I got the
I al
bird holding the gun to
I
my
always
head.
think of 'cause I've used
Yeah.
Duolingo much.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
relentless if
Yeah.
you allow
If you yeah,
notifications.
if you s and if you, like, by, like, 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
Haven't hit it. Oh,
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
like,
just
"Hello."
gonna yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I have, taken a bunch of Coursera classes and just sort of been, like, trying to up my chops in some of the more data-centered things that have happened since I, last had my hands deep in the pie, so I'm doing, a lot of data analytics stuff, and everyone's got their search ad certification and all of that kind of so I've been doing that kind of stuff just to have keep
Yeah,
everything fresh. Um, I'm still reading the news every day and I'm trying to meet people, right? Like, I'm trying to go out and meet people and talk to people that I know and see who they know
yeah,
because I do believe that it will come down to a human connection. I don't think I'm gonna get a job from responding to a posting on LinkedIn. I think I'm gonna get a job if I respond to a posting on LinkedIn and find someone at that company who can also push my resume into the
yeah,
pile.
because they don't know what you know until they talk with you.
Right.
But when I mean, the reality of any of these postings, how many applicants do they get,
Thousands.
right?
Yeah.
So how do you they wade through it, and if they're using an algorithm that doesn't really pick the best in class, that doesn't have the nuance, it's like,
Right.
how do you actually figure that out to because, I mean, at the end of the day, you have value to share. They're looking for that value, but it's hard to discover one
Mhm.
ano again,
Again,
a whole
discovery.
discovery, yeah, becomes but how you manage your emotions during these times has gotta be
Yeah. Jogging,
yeah,
travel, just trying to
yeah,
find something interesting each day.
and you don't drink
I don't drink
anymore, and so
anymore anymore,
anymore,
to be clear.
to be clear. But, I mean, so this would challenge
Yeah.
does that challenge your sobriety?
It doesn't.
Okay,
What was most challenging for me after I quit drinking was, like, the first year of trying to go to the same kind of events, that I did when I was drinking, right? Like,
yeah,
to be at a late night party at Comic-Con, the Viacom people used to always do, like, on, the Thursday night, they'd, like, get the rooftop at one of the hotels and just have a late night cocktails
yeah,
thing, and so being there without drinking was tough for the first year, but for me, the first year was the toughest because you gotta do everything once, and then you know you can do it. That's
yeah,
my experience, right? Like, so my first Christmas was tougher than any other Christmas, my first birthday, my first Think LA awards show, whatever it is. The
yeah, yeah.
first time I did something after I quit drinking was tougher than any other time.
And so now, it's not that it's challenging you to or even wanna tr
No, but,
again,
for me
'cause I'm sure there's others,
well, but for me,
right?
for yeah, no,
Don't you agree?
absolutely there are others, but also for me, drinking was about self-confidence and being sociable and that kind of stuff, right? Like, so those are underlying things that I've been able to work on, that I, have gone to therapy. I've done this, that, and the other thing to try and sort of heal those parts of myself,
Yeah.
but they are still I am still there underneath whether I'm drinking or not drinking. I'm still there underneath. So what do I do with that energy and those things? And how do I continue to do that
Yeah.
when I'm not working and I can't just throw myself into a job, when I can't just throw myself into to whatever?
Yeah. So what do you do with that energy?
Um, I like to run. I jog.
So run.
I walk. Getting outside and getting fresh air is important to me. Like,
Yeah.
I also read a lot. I
Like
love
read, not
books.
listen.
Books. I do not like audiobooks,
Oh, you don't?
except Britney Spears's.
Okay, why Britney Spears?
Because Michelle Williams reads it.
I haven't heard it yet.
Oh, it's amazing.
I could see I haven't heard Michelle Williams, but now that
Michelle
I think of
Williams doing Britney. It's incredible.
is she catering her voice
A little
to it
bit,
a
yeah.
little bit?
And
Okay.
then there's an incredible scene that happens where Michelle Williams is reading Britney Spears' recounting of a conversation that Justin Timberlake had with, I think, Genuine?
The Genuine?
Yeah.
I always think of Parks and Rec
And so,
when people
like,
say
to
Genuine. Yeah, yeah.
have to have Michelle Williams doing Britney Spears doing an impression of Justin Timberlake doing basically blackface talking to
Oh my
to
gosh.
someone. It's incredible. But, other than that, no, I like to read, and I like to watch TV on a TV. Yeah, I can be a very old-fashioned person.
But like you said, okay. But like you said, you're an entertainment person
Mhm.
in marketing as
Yes.
opposed to a
Yeah.
marketing person
Yeah.
in entertainment.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that you would, because to the point we were in talking earlier about content, there's storytelling, and it's the stories that captivate us, and
Mhm.
when we're looking for comfort, right?
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
And so also, like, for me, it's then thinking about how do I tell my story? How do I
yeah.
put my best foot forward? How do I have an elevator pitch? How do I do any of the things to brand myself?
Knowing's half the battle, right?
Right, yeah, just
But so how do you discover information to do that?
well, what's interesting is, so when that recruiter said to me they want someone who has experience at a streamer, that lit a fire under my rear end to sit down and write out my streaming experience, to put numbers to it and to really get clear about how to answer that question instead of being like, but no, we really do.
Yeah, no, no, I
Is
get
like,
you.
no,
Yeah,
this is what I did. This is how I did it. And this is the success that I saw from doing it.
yeah,
Right. And so it's sort of trying on in any given week to think about something that I do and figure out how to think about it differently or talk about it differently. And now that I'm like trying a little bit to reach out beyond just a typical entertainment company, it's no, I think I could do gaming, and no, it's different than television, but here are the ways that it's the same, and here are the way my skills match up with the way I see you doing work.
yeah.
So I spend a good amount of time researching how other companies are doing things and how other verticals or what have you approach the same kind of issues that I did, so that I can know how to speak about what I do
It makes sense.
intelligently. Yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
it's exhausting.
It yeah, yeah, it is exhausting, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Mentally,
yes, yes,
because you're having to ingest so much new information while still dealing and managing your current reality.
yes.
Yeah, it's a juggle.
Yeah, I feel like I should get a master's degree in something for the time I've spent.
I feel like that can translate into value for others. I do,
Yeah.
but it's that cliche, right? What it's that new one that everybody's been talking about. Uh, Good times make weak people, soft people. Hard times make hard people. Shit, Brandon, what is it? Do you know it?
No.
All right, then scratch that shit because I don't remember it. I'm gonna sound like an asshole.
I mean, there's the old-timey, like, "A calm seas never built a strong captain or ship or something like that.
Something along
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah,
lines. Yeah, it's that same type of
yeah,
thought process. Well, I hope this is building a stronger you.
yeah. A stronger sea captain from watching.
LA Law.
No, LA Law. That's another thing entirely. But from watching, what's it called? Our Flag Means Death.
Oh, I can't believe it got clipped.
I know, I
My daughter
know.
drew fan art for it, and it was one of her posts that actually went viral
Amazing,
because, yeah, that show, it's awesome.
incredible,
Yeah,
incredible.
it was real
Yeah,
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 it was yeah, right from the first
yeah,
episode,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that lead was in pirate radio as well, so it
Yes.
makes
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. My wife and I were excited to see Minnie Driver, and understand what the future of our relationship can look like.
We can leave it on that. Alright.
Okay.